right, reading update. I went to Pride today while I was on the bus. Well, I walked down. But then while I was waiting for Pride to start, and then also when I took the bus back up the hill, I read for a bit, as I do. I have a physical book this time. Yay! I found this, I got this on a whim from a little free library in my neighborhood. It's funny because I have this author is Rachel, sorry, I'm just going to keep putting it down, Rachel Runya Katz, and I have one of her other books, Isn't It Obvious, as a request for my local library. They don't have it in, but I requested them to get a copy through Libby. I was holding out for that book for my buy bookish bingo, because one of the prompts is to read a Jewish book, a Jewish buy book, meaning the author or the main character is Jewish, and in this case, isn't it obvious both the author and the main characters are Jewish? And then I saw this in the little free library, and I was like, well, I already know the author's Jewish, and given that her other book is bi, there's a chance that this one might also be bi. It's bi. She's bi. The main female character is bi. So that was a good gamble on my part. Worked out. I am now I'm at the start of chapter 7, so I'm 78 pages in. And the premise, I read the synopsis. I don't remember the synopsis, so I'm just going to give the very basic rundown of what's going on. These two characters, Daniel and Aaliyah, they knew each other when they were kids. They went to this Jewish sleepaway camp, and they used to be really good friends, and then they had this falling out, and then they never saw each other again. And until the beginning of the book, when they just happened to be on the same flight. And things are, of course, tense and weird and awkward. But then through a series of events, they end up having to work together on the same project. She works in a museum and is aspiring to be a curator, and he is a marketing strategist. And they have to work together to put together a marketing plan for this new exhibit that Aaliyah wants to do at the museum. And if she gets this exhibit off the ground and is able to bring up membership through this exhibit, then she will get the curator position. So there's that element of forced proximity in that they have to work together, but there's also an element of they have friends. Of course they have friends. But one of Leah's work friends is this girl named Siobhan, and through a series of circumstances, Siobhan and Leah end up running into Daniel and his friend Jordan, and Siobhan is very taken with Jordan and has a big crush on him, but is too shy to do anything about it. And so between Jordan trying to wingman for Daniel because Jordan wants Daniel to try to hook up with Leah, and Leah wingmanning for Siobhan because Siobhan is really shy but really, really wants help, trying to make a move on Jordan, they end up coming together to form this little club, basically, where they get together and have drinks and vent to each other. And it's a really cute concept. I was a little slow getting into it initially, but now it's kind of hitting its stride and I'm more interested. I think it helps that Daniel and Aaliyah are a little more amicable, or at least Aaliyah is more amicable to Daniel. Daniel hasn't been, difficult to her, or not intentionally anyway. I will say there have been a couple little moments where the prose is a little sometimes things will be phrased in a way where I'm not sure if it's suggesting something that might happen or describing something that has happened. And I just get a little mixed up with that. There's also been a couple instances where the way words are spelt, I'm I don't think that's how you spell that. The characters will say "ite," and granted, I do not speak AAVE, but I recall seeing "ite" spelt all right, but abbreviated, basically, a couple letters taken out. And here it's spelled AITE, which I've just never seen before. I mean, again, I am not super familiar with AAVE personally, so maybe this is just another way of writing it and this is totally normal. One thing that I know isn't proper is the word jibe was written, but it was spelled GIBE, where I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be spelled with a J. So there's been a couple little things like that where I'm huh? But so far not a huge thing detracting from the story or anything. But yes, I am enjoying it. I am excited to read more. I have some food in the oven that I'm waiting to heat up, and I'm probably going to read a chapter or two while I wait on that. I don't have the book to hold up because I don't feel like getting up to go grab it, but I'm like 200 some pages into Thank You for Sharing. I'm really enjoying it. I think Daniel and Aaliyah have really great chemistry, and I like the way their relationship is like developing, and the backstory that's involved there, and there's like mutual attraction, but there's also an element of like mutually oblivious pining because they both feel that the other couldn't be interested in them or isn't interested the same way. And also they both feel like, you know, they are not in a position to be in a relationship. We haven't really figured out why for either of them. There's been some like hints about it, but we haven't really gotten into it yet. So I imagine that's going to be a big thing we unpack later. I'm really enjoying, at the end of most of the chapters, there's Speakeasy Survival Club notes and like meeting notes, and I just think it's a really cute little detail, and I find them delightful. I really enjoy the side characters too. Siobhan and Jordan and Neen are all really fun and interesting, and I'm really interested in like the dynamic unfolding between these various side characters. I'm really enjoying it so far. It is very easy also to root for Aaliyah to succeed in like her current, you know, work project. Like, I don't know, she's just an easy character to root for. And also like the stuff that's going on where she's getting like reprimanded, but it's stuff that's genuinely out of like her control. That is, that's a mood. I feel like a lot of people have experienced that in the workplace where it's like, what do you mean I'm in trouble because there was a blizzard? What do you want me to do? So I am enjoying it. I will probably update when I get to the end of the book, unless something comes up that I really want to talk about before that. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure I remembered to update at some point in the middle of the book instead of leaving it till the end. Okay, so I finished reading Thank You for Sharing by Runya Katz, and I really liked this book. I thought this was a really well-written book. Particularly in terms of characterization and character development. I thought that both Daniel and Leah had really, really interesting and like well-developed emotional journeys. Like both of them came into this story with really, really serious emotional baggage and grief and trauma, and they both grow through that and like help each other grow through that, but also definitely like independently grow. And I just thought that was handled really, really well. It deals with like pretty heavy topics, but it does so with a lot of care and nuance. I really loved all of the like friendship and side characters and stuff shown through here. They all felt very real. Sometimes you read a book and the way a friendship is written is like, this feels like someone is writing a friendship, not like an actual friendship. This one, I felt like the friendships, they seemed much more like real and organic, if that makes sense. And like I believed them. I believed that these characters genuinely enjoyed spending time together. I really liked the way that Daniel and Leah's relationship changed and grew over the course of the book. And I thought that like sometimes you read books and the moment that characters realize they're in love with each other feels either like way too sudden or way too fast, or like it doesn't feel like it was properly built up to, or like, you know what I mean? I feel like, I don't know if I'm explaining it very well, but in this one, like it felt like they were falling in love over the course of the book. Like I really, really believed that as I was reading. I thought the third act conflict made a lot of sense from both characters' perspectives. I liked the way it was drawn out in a way that it didn't feel like it was being done just for drama, because that happens in some books too. This one, I understood both sides, why things were happening the way they were happening. And it felt like it took just as much time as it needed to, and the way they resolved it made sense for who they are and what their dynamic is. And the epilogue was so cute. I loved the epilogue. Even down, like just down to little things like how there's a bit in the epilogue about Daniel has this cat named Sweet Pea, and Leah ends up calling it all these different names.
and they're like names that don't really make any sense, but they kind of do in lieu of what the cat has been referred to as its actual name. Like, it's just one of those silly things that like anyone who has ever owned a cat or like had a pet understands, that like, no, this cat name doesn't make any sense and it is entirely divorced from what the cat's actual name is. But like, trust me, it makes sense if you know all of the backstory and context of how we got here. That's a digression, but I thought that was really cute and I liked that detail. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed this book. I also liked the career stuff that was included. I liked seeing a little bit of each of their jobs. It didn't like take over the book, but it was very clear that like their work was important to them. And like, I felt like I was reading a book about adults who have jobs, which again, doesn't always happen when you're reading books about adults who have jobs, because the job kind of gets in the way of the plot. So why would you include it there? But I felt like this did a good job of balancing like showing them working and having them acknowledge their jobs and deal with their jobs, but also still having the book be focused on their actual like relationship and dynamics and like other parts of their life. And yeah, I really, really, really liked this book. It is a 5-star. I finally got another 5-star. This is very exciting. It also makes me even more excited to read that other Rachel Runya Katz book. And I'm just very happy that I picked up this book and read it. It was very, very good. Now, to buy bingo. I know the letters are mirrored. I can't help it. Trust me, if I used the front-facing camera, the autofocus would drive everyone wild. So just, this is better than it not being able to make up its mind about what it's focusing on. Anyway, the square I get to check off for this book is because both of the main characters are Jewish and one of them is bi, so this is a bi-Jewish book. The author is also Jewish, so it's Jewish all around. Anyway, that is all I have for this video. If you made it this far, please leave, what do I want to do? Leave a train emoji. I promise it makes sense with this book. So yeah, if you made it this far, leave a train emoji below. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!